Well, hello. It's that time again. It's time to show me your nuts. How is everybody this morning? Thank you, Breakthrough Show Network, for showing me your nuts. And Miss Sang, hello, Sang. I am excited to see you guys this morning. Back to my favorite topic in the world. Well, okay, no, last month was one of my favorite topics. This month, yeah, it's my favorite topics. So, how's everybody doing on this Tuesday? It's it's starting to get coolish out, but yet sometimes it's still like warm, too warm for everything. On the East Coast, they're getting slammed with weather. All right. Um saying I light up when my friends are around me because you guys just all make me smile big. I don't know what to say. And then, some of you I've been blessed to have hugs with already. Some of you, it's coming. It's gonna happen. I don't know how, but it's gonna happen. So, yeah. Um, we're heading into fall, and, I mean, it's the mid-October, and we're headed into fall. What's up with that? Like, we're still having Augusty weather, kind of. Well, not August, maybe September. September weather. It's 70 no, it's 65 in Kansas City this morning. So it's 65 here. Um, so let's dive in to our topic today. Our topic today is integrity in decision making. And it's based on what I call rule number 4, which is there is no the actual rule number 4 says there is no job worth your current or future license. Rule number 4 started when I was teaching baby social workers, and we were talking about we've got several rules we have of like, if you remember these 4 things at the end of the day and you can answer them all well, then you've had a good day. And as a social worker, there's some days where you've got to check yourself to see if you've had a good day, because they don't all feel like it. Um, and so rule number 4 was born out of that discussion. And it's there's no job worth your current or future license. But truthfully, rule number 4 applies to everyone with or without a license and having nothing to do with a job. It's there's no I'm going to use one of my grandpa's words. He taught me this word and concept, and he taught me about the ethics of it and the pieces of it long before we ended up where we're at right now. He passed away, oh my gosh, now I can't think of how long ago it was. It's coming on, it's 25 years or so ago. And he talked about capitulation. And capitulation being when kind of like give over your control to somebody else. And you may say yes to something that you wouldn't normally say yes to. Um, and it's for a variety of reasons. So, and that when groups of people capitulate, they can end up in some really crazy scenarios. And the irony isn't lost on me that capitulation, integrity, and things that are going on in the world are woven into each other right now. But bringing that capitulation word back to individual decisions and integrity is that there is no decision worth capitulating, because that's not worth your future anything. And what let's bringing that back to making decisions, um, with integrity ensures that all of our decisions reflect our true self. And if your true self, when you look at ethics, there's ethics have so many gray areas. There's, what is good for one person, what's good for another person, what's good for everyone, and then what's the truth that happens. And, if you've ever worked in situations where you have to discuss an ethical decision, they're not as black and white as they might originally seem. At the same time, there comes a place in decision making and in our lives that there are some basic human decency that is that shapes decision making as well. I saw a post from a colleague and family member this morning who that said something about she was talking about basic human rights and basic human decency. And my rights end where your rights begin, and your rights end where mine begin. But in order to live in this life, we need to support each other. We're all stuck on the same planet. Nobody's leaving here for good at the moment. I mean, it's the only way to do that's to unalive yourself. That's just the only way that happens. And so we're all stuck here. And it's not like we can necessarily get away from each other. It's not like we can separate the planet onto, okay, if you believe this, you live on this side, and you believe this, you live on this side. That just there's no way for that to happen. So the alternative to that is to treat each other with kindness, respect, decency, and I will dare say integrity. And that goes back to our decisions. The decisions we make every day, all of the decisions we make, whether you cut somebody off in traffic or whether if you've accidentally, didn't turn your turn signal on in time and you get in front of somebody that kind of raise your hand in a gesture of thank you or I'm sorry as opposed to something else. You can make a decision based on that. And that decision can impact how the next step happens. And each of us have a decision point in those things, and each of us is responsible for our individual behaviors. All of these things are things that I personally say fit in the definition of integrity. Um, because integrity to me contains choices and consequences, rights and responsibilities. Because when you boil things down, that's what many things come down to is what choice are you going to make? What consequence does it have? What are your rights? What are other people's rights? And what are your responsibilities? And truthfully, the one thing we each individually need to think of is what our individual responsibility for things are. I'm going to try and keep up with the comments at the same time. Um, so checking in with the East Coast, little rain, the wind is fun. Um, and that Jessica doesn't need help with falling over. I hope you aren't over there falling over, sister. I hope you are staying upright and comfortable. And good morning, Ollie, or good afternoon for you, of course. Um, it's good to see everybody. So, when we think of integrity in decision making, we're looking at how it shapes that process. And it's how your decisions align with your core values and principles. Well, if you haven't examined your core values and principles, how do you know if your decisions align with those. You can make choices and have consequences all day long, but if you haven't looked at how they align with your values, you might be all over the board. So, you wanna look at what your values are. You wanna see what your choices and decisions, happen during the day, and do those align with those values? And then, what are the consequences of those decisions? Because every decision and every choice, every behavior has a consequence. A consequence doesn't have to be a negative thing, but every time you make a decision, every time you make a choice, there's a consequence. So what's the consequence of your most recent choice? Does that recent choice and the decision to make the choice line up with your beliefs and values? Now, I'm not going to go into it today, but there is a difference between a value and a belief. And frankly, there's a difference between a value, a belief, and an opinion. And then the next couple months, we're going to get into that because next month in November is values. And then December, we're talking about beliefs. We're not going to talk about opinions because that's not a part, it shouldn't be a part of the decision making process. The decision making process should come from your values, looking at your beliefs, then having a thought, a feeling, a decision, a behavior. And then that behavior has a consequence. And then that consequence has learning. And your learning from that consequence includes how you respond to being responsible for having made that choice and done that behavior. And so then it's also the meaning you make of the whole thing, which comes from your perception. I'm trying to weave together quite a few concepts here, and I hope you're following. Um, this is things that happen to us all day long, every day. And if you understand how this process happens, the steps in it, and you understand your values, your beliefs, your thoughts, feelings, behaviors, or choices, behaviors, the lessons from those behaviors, then you can understand your impact on others in the world. And if the others in the world, if everyone understood these, we would actually be able to have probably some higher level discussions about how we impact each other and how we respect each other. Because, there's only one Squirrel Wrangler, there's only one Stacy, and that's probably good for the world, actually. But I am the only one who knows what's going on in this head. No one out there, even my mother, my husband, my brother, my best friend, the people I hang out with all day long. Sorry, but there's only one person who understands what's going on in here. And those who respect it are ones who I hang out with. Now, there's a corollary here. My integrity for me, my definition of that says that I need to do my best to understand to the level I can their values, their beliefs, their thinking, their thoughts, their feelings, their behaviors, their choices, and their decisions. Not to control them or to do something to them, but to understand and respect them. The reason I need to understand it is so I can respect and love the other person. That's it. I don't need to understand you for any other reason than to respect and love you. However, all of us discussing the pieces and parts under those decisions and those behaviors can help us understand each other's way of thinking in here so that we can respect and love each other more. Eh, I don't I think I feel like I'm beating a drum here because we've been here before on this show, but we've gotta understand each other, and especially with certain things going on right now, capitulation that might be going on without even realizing it. People that are capitulating to, "Oh, well, that's just the way things are, and I'm just gonna let it happen because, it'll be okay. It won't hurt me. It's not gonna hurt my family. It's not gonna hurt anybody I love." Well, guess what? It probably already has and or it will. And it being capitulation and choosing to allow harm to come to other people. All right. So I'm going for the audience here. Miss Sang, who I should just send you the um, link so you can come in the studio. Um, Send me a message if you want that, and I will. Knowing how to distinguish if an opinion is clouding your decision making is helpful. Absolutely. Knowing how to distinguish if it's something is an opinion, a value, an opinion, or a belief, and to find out if that opinion is clouding your decision making is beyond helpful, I think. I think it's vital, actually. And I can't believe you just put that other in chat, and, I won't make you come on camera if you're not ready. Not at all. However, you're invited to be here on the show sometime, and, we'll talk about that. Ollie says, "How could we understand each other if we can't fully really understand ourselves?" Absolutely. We have to understand ourselves at a depth. The no, I'll say the deeper we understand ourselves, not only can we understand other people, but we also have an obligation then to understand the other person. I think we have an obligation to understand the other person anyway, like, just in general. Um, and saying we're always gonna be more prepared when we have more cortados. Just saying, if you've never had a cortado, oh my god. I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee because this coffee is not a cortado, but it's pretty good. So, there are 5 people watching, and I am adoring that. Let's do an energy check. On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel in your decision making as it relates to integrity? And I'm gonna pop over in the chat and see what we get. On a scale of 1 to 10, energy check. How confident do you feel in how your integrity comes out in your decision making? And see if I've got anybody. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna for mine, I'm gonna give myself an 8. I'm gonna give myself an 8 because I think I there I'm not I'm not that teacher that always grades like at an 80 or a 90 because there's always room for improvement, because I've seen some 100% freaking work. Graduate school students that I've taught and my social work babies, and if you're out there watching, you know. Um, I'm gonna give myself an 8 because there's times where I don't feel sure. Miss Sang, of course, is a 9.5 on the Richter. She's got it going on. She's definitely got it going on. Um, oh, and speaking of other people who've got it going on, I'm gonna squirrel moment and shout out a late happy birthday to Cashew Quilt because, Stacy's mom definitely has got it going on, and her birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday, mom. And fun fact, we, uh, we were discussing this very topic one day, and I asked her about her values. And it's a good thing I was sitting down because found out proof that values get passed down from one person to another because one of her favorite values that she deals with in the world and our definitions of this value are really close to each other, um, which makes the value even mean even more to me is integrity. And so, I can truly say I got that from my mama. Um, Sangs, after spending the past year with herself in solitude, she learned so much about herself, her patterns, triggers, and stuff. If you don't know about your own stuff, then you can't get through life. You just really can't. Um, or if you don't know about your stuff is going to keep coming back and knocking you on your butt. And so I think we have to know about learning about your stuff isn't to be painful of, "Oh my god, I got stuff," and and I'm mm. You learn about how it kicks you in the butt, not so that you can wallow in it. You learn about how it kicks you in the butt so you can solve that shit, right? So you can do something different, so you can learn something from it, because here's the big one. My personal belief system says that we came to this life at this time, even with everything going on purpose. We chose. We made a choice to be here, and we are responsible for our own being here. Now, let that one knock you over with a feather, okay? Because when you think about, I chose to be here, I wanted to be here in this time to learn the things about myself that are going on right now, to experience the emotions and the feelings and all the feels from joy to shit. I'm here to learn all of it in this life. It's it was my choice to do it. It was purposeful, and it was so that I could know myself. And so then the more you know yourself, the more you take that deep dive into the things that aren't comfortable, into the things that, maybe you did something or have done something in the past to a good friend or a family member or to yourself, um, that wasn't comfortable or that wasn't good, and facing that and taking responsibility for it is actually a form of freedom, because as you look at it and learn from it, you take responsibility for it, you can free yourself from that, but you also have a learning from it. And that's what you're here for, is the learning. And you put all of that together, you've got integrity in your decision making going forward, because you know the lessons you learned from the last F up you did. So you are learning from our decision making is what causes the next decision to hopefully be better. Now, if you don't learn from the decision making or you don't care, then your decision making is probably going to happen over and over the same thing. Same shit, different day. So we've got to know ourselves in order to make those decisions. So and I'm saying "so" a lot this morning, I'm not sure why. I just realized that, and I'm good with it. Let's explore some real life scenarios where integrity plays a crucial role. Some of my decisions in life have to do with other humans, simply by the virtue of the fact of the profession, or one of the professions, because I think I've got 4 or 5 by now, of the professions that I've chosen. Um, all of them in one way or another helping professions. So as a therapist and now as a coach, I have other people present their vulnerable stuff to me. They get down into things that are private, confidential, painful, vulnerable, all the feels. And so my response to that is a moment to moment decision that could impact that other person's well being in the moment and in the long haul. And I don't take that lightly. I know that how I respond to them is going to have a direct and lasting impact on how they move forward with hopefully healing, but definitely in their life. And if you're a helping professional and you don't think about that, I'm going to say it's time for a deep dive because I don't care what kind of helping professional you are. If you are a therapist, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a police officer, a firefighter, EMT, um, and frankly, not just helping professionals. If you are a musician, an insurance agent, um, a business owner, doesn't matter what you are. If we all would think about our how our reactions to another person impact them, that by itself is a first step down the road of knowing yourself and knowing how you impact how the pieces of you impact your decision making, thusly impact your behaviors, thusly impact others. I don't know how many different ways I can go down this road to really explain what it means. So, we've got some fun stuff coming up in the chat, saying, "Yes, that quilt is very adorable, and it's mine. My mommy made it for me." And yes, happy birthday, mom, and hashtag Libras, because Libras, we, although bringing up Libra actually kind of brings me back even to the scales and decision making and justice, social justice, all the things. And, it's not particularly surprising that, I learned those things from a Libra and that, as you'll find out, next Tuesday is my birthday, and I'm a Libra as well. Just barely, as they say. They say, "Oh, you're almost on the cusp." No, I'm solid ass Libra through and through. I got them scales going right, left, and upside down all the time. I weigh everything in my head every moment. And sometimes that's a cluster. Sometimes it's just a mess up there because of that. It's probably where the squirrels come from, to be honest. And it's also where the squirrel wrangling comes from. So, who has a scenario that they've thought of um um that fits in the integrity, and I'll integrity and decision making, and I'll show some of these other fun things that are going on while I'm waiting on that. The squirrel should absolutely be the Libra symbol. You know, I've got some friends that are really good at graphics, and they know the show really well. I'm wondering, you know, maybe this room here needs a little redesign, needs some Libra added to it. I don't know. Um, and Ollie, where's Alice? Alice isn't Alice. Alice, she. I think Alice is talking to the costumed frog in Portland, Oregon, right now. She's been busy. She's been busy. There's stuff to do for Alice right now. Um, and then saying, I am Libra. I'm a Libra sun, Libra moon, and I can't remember. I can't remember the other. I want to say Sagittarius, but don't hold me on that. I'll have to bring that out sometime. Um, seriously, was just looking at my chart last night, but I forgot. I do know I'm a Libra sun, Libra moon, so I'm full of it. Well, I'm full of Libra, and I'm full of it. So if nobody's gonna bring me any scenarios. All right, Jessica. Bust out, make the squirrel laugh her butt off. Yes, the whole chart. Um, maybe off camera. Maybe off camera. You and Sang and I can meet up somewhere undisclosed and share our charts. Um, and yes, very squirrelatable. That's a hard word to say. That's a tongue twister, Ollie. Um, Rutrow. Sang's got all the details. She's gonna get the chart anyway. I forgot that. All right, you guys, let me get back to my topic of the day. And if you guys aren't gonna play, we're gonna I don't have any stories for you guys. But what I want to present is I want to present an idea to the audience of something that you can do. But before I do that, I am going to share a quick little request from everybody who's watching this. To remember to like, share, and subscribe to help Show Me Your Nuts and the Breakthrough Show Network, because that keeps us in our integrity of being able to bring you more and more. So if you can help us get seen more by more people, then that helps us be able to bring you more stuff. And by us, I mean me in Show Me Your Nuts. But help us out. And speaking of the Breakthrough Show Network, I'm not the only show here. I know that I'm like, I've got a cool one, but I am not the only one, and I'm definitely not the coolest one. I think my favorite show is probably Project Joy, partly because it's 3 times a week, and I was gonna say it's DJ'd, partly because Jessica is that Project Joy is her show, and she's a killer DJ. So I'm just gonna say it's DJ'd. Project Joy, DJ'd by Jessica Dugas and the Breakthrough Show Network. So let's do a quick little commercial, and then I will be back to talk more about integrity.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Yep. I think I need to start asking people, "Are you ready to show me your nuts?" I kinda did that one this morning, but, I love the music in that commercial. It just gets you going. Um, Here we go. We got a couple scenarios. Thank you guys for bringing it. Um, Decision making becomes a very, very simple becomes very simple when part of your integrity involves the set of principles you live by. And I would agree. I would say the set of principles, and principles coming, like morphing around your values. Because I would say there's values, beliefs, and principles are kind of all um connected to each other. They're slightly different things. It's like, you know, splitting hairs, but decision making becomes simple when part of your integrity involves the set of principles you live by, because then you can go, okay, I need to make this decision, X decision. And what does that decision involve? It involves da 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 da. And does that fit in my values? Does that fit in the principles that I live by? Does it fit for me? And you make the decision based on fit. That's kind of what I'm reading when I read that, and I think so. And yes, Ollie, you guys were squirrel jacking. That's a new hashtag. Somebody put that one in as a hashtag in the chat. Hashtag squirrel jacking. Um, that's a definitely new hashtag for the show. Show Me Your Nuts definitely was a natural fit on the Breakthrough Show Network. Um, I thought because of breakthroughs and things and our integrity, our shared integrity and those things. But apparently it's also because we're all one nut short of a whole holiday charcuterie board. Um, but in that charcuterie board, I'm gonna say from that commercial, was that not a gorgeous charcuterie board? Spirit sessions on Sunday morning, which if I got up early enough, and don't shame me on the early enough part, that's one of the few days I sleep late. And I can sleep like a teenager. Oh my god, I can sleep like a teenager. I love my sleep. It's also because I work in my sleep, and I also visit relatives in other places on my sleep. So that's part of why I love my sleep is I do other things. I actually work in my sleep. Um, but that charcuterie board of the Breakthrough Show Network is Spirit Sessions is on Sunday, Project Joy 3 times a week, 2D on Tuesday nights, and the Breakthrough Show on Fridays. And I know I forgot somebody, and another show. The events, I didn't even go into any of the events like Craft Circle and Brittany's crafting things. Mm, yeah. Um, so let's see. Sang For me, I learned to stand by my choices because my past self would allow external noise to be part of the decision making. I'll tell you, I think we all go through periods of time in our life, especially as young people, as we do, because hello, that's what it's that's what our life, that's what that early part of life is experimenting and trying and doing different things, so that we learn. And I think we learn the, like, great big stuff then, and then we nuance as we get older, we carry that wisdom if we were able to learn it, and then we nuance it out even more and more, and we refine things. Now, if we don't learn it earlier, it'll hit us in the butt later. But our past selves, I think our past selves do allow external noise and things outside of ourselves, because especially if you think about that period of development between being a teenager and young adult, one of the most important things to us at that point in time in our lives is how we're accepted by other people, especially from our peers, but we allow those external things to impact our decision making internally, and we also we're still learning what our true values and beliefs are, and what our principles that we live by are. And I think, it takes more learning in periods of time to get to the point where we really know what those values are, we know what those beliefs are, we know what those principles are, and we start applying them. Um, and I don't even know for sure if we really get super philosophical about that until we're even older. I think that's part of what they call midlife crisis actually probably is realizing how you effed up when you were younger and realizing what you want to do different, um, going forward, because you still have life left going forward. Um, and saying, I am appreciating I'm not gonna put it on the screen, but those of you who are in YouTube land, um, Sang's got some super incredible wisdom about, um, some things she's lived through. Um, One, a story about her daughter, when she was born, and, she's talking about that in the chat, and um, I think that was wise to not talk about the story until she was old enough to understand the things, so that the outside world didn't tell her things that weren't exactly true based on their opinion or their own beliefs, as opposed to what she felt, what Sang's story was, so that her daughter could know the real story, not, somebody else's. Um, so now you guys are coming up with the stories. Um, yeah, if we don't tell our own truth, and if we don't stand in our own truth, if we don't stand in our own integrity, the game of telephone will, like, blast stuff out everywhere, and it'll be all the wrong shit. It'll be the game of telephone where people add their own narrative, and it's doesn't by the time it gets around to even 2 or 3 people, it's not the original story, and that can cause harm too. But I think in that, I think it's really important that when something happens to you and you have your story, and Joe Blow hears about your story and adds his part, and Mary Blow, whatever, hears the story and she adds her part, and Rose hears the story and adds her part, and Mike adds his part, and then it comes back around to you, and people are trying to hold you responsible for Joe, Mary, Rose, and Mike's parts. Well, that's bullshit, because you can only be held responsible for your part. And I think that's yet another way that the perceptions of how we, um, deal with situations can be hurtful and impactful in a negative way. Because if I say something and then it goes around the world via Omaha or via wherever, via Phoenix, through the Blue Road, whatever it is, and it comes back to me and somebody's trying to hold me responsible for something that happened to something I said that went around the world and got 6 things added to it, that's not fair either. And the person trying to hold me responsible for all the other 6 things, they need to understand. They need to be able to understand the process that happened and be compassionate and kind enough and human enough to listen to the original story. And I think I say that they, meaning the other person being she's trying to hold me responsible. Frankly, let's flip that script. If I'm trying to hold someone else responsible for something I hear that they said, and it's been through the telephone game, I need, and this is because of my own integrity, I personally say I have to be compassionate enough and respectful enough and human enough to listen to what their original story is and to understand the possibility that something went around the world in that telephone game, because it's going to. We can't stop the telephone game from happening, but what we can do is be compassionate and respectful to that original person and their story, to be able to wrap them and listen to what their original story is before we pass judgments. Because otherwise, we are not necessarily holding positive, human, respectful integrity toward that person. Um, and yes, saying I knew that I was welcome to add that one to the sorry, I was trying to do a synopsis of the story. But, I will say this piece that you've added of for you, the integrity, it was about the integrity you had for your daughter and to show your children that the outside noise can cloud their decision making. And I think like there are so many, there's like layers upon layers, kind of like a um mille um flore, like a crepe cake with a million layers. There's so many layers to what you chose to do very intentionally and very particularly in love, in mother, huge mama love for your daughter, and to show your children that you were staying in your integrity about what decision you made for your daughter and how that impacted her. And then you chose how she understood it, or at what point in her life she was she got the news, if you will, or found out the things, so that she would know your story. She would know your truth first, and then she could like, then you know she could see all the outside part after that. um and I knew Ollie would help me out here with the French. Mille Fleu Florel? Mille Fluel. Mille Fluel. I know I butchered that. I know I butchered it. I I don't know it. I know, like, bonjour and je m'appelle. I know so little French. But I hope that you guys enjoyed, or maybe enjoy is not really the right word. I hope today's topic about holding integrity at the center of your decision making was helpful to you, just helping you take a deep dive and just thinking a little bit more about What drives your personal decision making? What helps you make a decision? Um, so I'm going to leave everybody with an exercise. And I'd love it if you're watching this show on replay. If you're watching the show live, put it in here now. Because, of course, if you're watching live, you get the interaction, you get the interactive squirrel. If you're watching later, you can still have the interactive squirrel. It just may take some time. So tag me. Um, think of a recent decision you made. Did it align with your values? So think of the decision, then think of your values. Did it align with your values? And then, look at what was the decision? Which values influenced your choice? And what was the outcome? And was that the outcome that you anticipated or not? And then did that challenge your values or did it confirm and validate your values? And did it change anything else? So, yeah, I hope that this topic was helpful for people to think about how our integrity comes out in our decision making and how it's connected to values. I want to leave you also with a one of my favorite quotes is by Jane Addams, who was one of the grandmothers of social work. She helped, um, ironically, with things going on in the world, she helped found Hull House, Hull House in Chicago. And Hull House was a settlement house to help recent immigrants at the turn of the last century to learn things about where they were living, to learn the language, to get jobs, to help each other, to make sure everybody had the basics, make sure everybody had food, a safe place to live, an income, and socialization, and belonging. And her quote was, "Action is indeed the sole medium of expression of ethics." And that quote is my favorite quote because of how to me, it encompasses integrity. So look that quote up and, yeah, I think maybe applying it to more recent events in Chicago. Maybe we need to reopen Hull House instead of, having people dressed as frogs in front of police officers in Portland or in Chicago, or having children being taken out in zip ties. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. But, integrity, its action is indeed the sole medium of expression of your ethics. And so do your actions express your ethics? When you align your choices with your values, it can lead you to authentic living. And by authentic, I'm going to say living within integrity with your values. Um, as you're making decisions this week, catch yourself making one decision that reflects your core values. And I don't mean all the things you value, I mean the things that are at the top of the list. And next week, we're going to talk about building trust through integrity, and how trust is built on that foundation of integrity. Um, Maybe I could talk somebody who's been in the audience into being on the show, because how trust is built on a foundation of integrity, since she made some decisions about integrity for her children, and that built trust in their relationship. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. What you doing next Tuesday morning? Um, So I do have one other thing I wanted to make sure and bring up on the screen if I can find it because there was a preview. Um, darn it. Oh, here we go. Wait till you hear about the new shows and co-hosts coming soon. Oh, there's more on the charcuterie board. You guys go to showmeyournuts.online. That is the Show Me Your Nuts page on the Breakthrough Show Network. So you start there, showmeyournuts.online. Then you can go and look at all the other shows to make sure you can watch and follow them. And you can add them to your YouTube listy. And then one last thing I did catch, one more thing of Jessica, remind me to tell you about the conversation I had with my friend Sherry's mom who marched with Dr. Oh, that had to be epic. Talk about somebody who had time to think about his values based on actions of others that, had he had quiet time in a jail cell because not necessarily just because of his own actions, but because someone else chose for him to be in that jail cell. But then look what happened, what came after it. It came after it because then he was able to present how to resist things without violence. I am loving that here it is towards the end of the show. I have 9 people watching. If you're watching, I'm gonna stay here for a little bit because I want to see everybody in the audience, all the 8 or 9 people here. Everybody put a something in the chat about um oh a fun decision you're making. Let's talk about a fun one. Um like Ollie decided to cut his hair this weekend. So I think that I'd call that a fun decision as also because hair grows back. So I say fun because you can do all sorts of things with your hair. You can have it be long, you can have it be short, you can have it be curly, you can have it be blue. I have had my hair blue. There's a little bit of blue left. It's going to be blue again. Um Jessica's, am I going to eat lunch now or in 30 minutes? I agree with now. I think now mine's going to be probably in about a couple hours because I still have a bunch of coffee to drink. Who else is here? Oh, she's eating Thanksgiving leftovers. All right. She's probably got butter tarts. And if you guys don't know what butter tarts are, look them up because I think I have to have butter tarts at some point in my life. Maybe I'll spend Thanksgiving somewhere with some Canadians sometime. Oh, Ollie's gonna have no hair at all. Yeah, that is another option. Nelson Mandela, 27 years in jail to reflect in his values and did think about, Leonard Peltier. Talk about somebody who was put in jail for something that he probably didn't do. Something he didn't do. I'm gonna just say I'm gonna stand in my own belief that with that. And that's a belief it that's a belief, but it's my belief and all beliefs are valid. Not all are um, not all are good for all others, but all beliefs are valid, but not all beliefs are helpful. I'll say that. Not all beliefs are humane at all. Not all beliefs are humane at all. So, if other people aren't going to put anything in the chat, I guess I'm going to accept Sang's accepting my offer to come join me for my birthday show. And I will see you guys next week where we're going to talk again about integrity, but this time we're going to talk about, or this next week, we're going to talk about how you build trust through integrity and how trust is built on that foundation of integrity. And if it's not solid, you could have a crumbly situation going on. So stay true to yourselves. Stay true to your integrity. You have to remember that there is no decision in this life that is worth giving up your ethics. Remember rule number 4. And come back next week to show me your nuts. I'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us on this nutty adventure. Remember, personal growth and wellness are journeys best taken together. Keep exploring, keep growing, and don't forget to show me your nuts next time.